This is another example of a background screen using CLI output. We framed the shot slightly differently. I'm a little more in the background, or smaller in the foreground would probably be a better way to describe it. But this allows me to move quite a bit as an instructor, and it allows us to present quite a bit of information. In this case, this is the output of a server_log command, and you could see that looks like there are some NTP issues on this particular server. And we want to be explaining that. So if I wanted to move around in the frame, that's too far, of course, but if I stuck to my marks, I could move in the frame, and by using motion reference here, I could refer to timestamps over in this side. I can refer to the output. I can point out that we're seeing the same information over and over. In this case, an SMB-related DNS message that tells us that we're not getting to the time server for the domain that we declared. The content is less relevant, as is the presentation, right? Because this allows me to discuss the output and to actually refer to it in a relatively direct manner, right? So I want to say, well, what are we being told here? Well, this is a time sync message. It refers to server_2, the default name for our second data mover. It tells us that the NTP server is not accessible or not responding to the time service. And then it gives us an SMB error that tells us there's a DNS problem for our domain configuration. And I can point to all of those. I can outline them. And if we wanted to really get fancy with the backgrounds, we could do tricks with color coding. Here, I'm just using a regular PuTTY session that I've changed a little bit so that the text is a little bit larger, and I've used a dark background color, a lighter foreground color, which at least in the monitor shot is quite readable. And we could determine what the most readable combinations are for actual production. So if we were looking to present a large CLI output and we wanted to explain several portions of it, this might be the frame that would be most appropriate, right? As opposed to using the tighter frame. If instead of looking at a log output, I wanted to look at a command response, as we did in one of the other examples. Well, assuming the command response is relatively short in its output, I might want to be further to the foreground, larger in the shot, so that mostly the focus will be on my explanation, and I'll only refer to the information behind me when it's appropriate to reinforce that explanation. In this type of shot, we'd expect that the explanation, for example, the output of a server log, would involve multiple steps, right? There's a number of things happening simultaneously or in sequence that are potentially the cause of our troubleshooting problem, or in just broad development, the subject of our explanation, and we want to be able to refer to them directly. In that case, this shot would be most appropriate.